Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Sharp Side Saturdays. We've got episode 29, all MMA today. We are breaking Sharp Side Saturday walls down. We got my good friend Dan Levy here. He's got two plays he really likes today. So, an unprecedented day. We've got Dan coming on to cover MMA, and he's going to give out two bets. I believe they're both underdogs. A lot of you guys familiar with Dan. He's been in the space for a really long time. And not too long. I'm not trying to make you sound old, but he's a veteran. He has a great track record, knows what he's doing. So I'm excited to hear what you're on today, Dan.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. Today is gonna be quite the day. Starting off here early in the morning, then got jujitsu at 11 a.m. Then after that, I'm going to a concert. I'm seeing Muse and 311, and then hopefully make it home in time to catch the main and co-main event. So I'm pumped, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. That sounds like quite the day, and I'm honored you're starting it here with us.
Oh no, the honor is all mine, man. This is cool. You know what you've built and what you've created. I remember you told me a long time ago, keep an eye out for me, right? And I think I was the only guy that responded to you when you did that. You
Yeah,
tagged a couple other cappers, and it's honestly been like a full circle moment because I just started my new series, the Technique of the Week, which I'm trying to break down jujitsu techniques in under 90 seconds.
which I
Realistically,
love, by the
I,
way. Which I'm a huge
ideally, I appreciate
fan of,
that.
by the way. Yeah,
Ideally, under 60 seconds, just make it fun and informative, and but when I was first juggling with the idea, I was like, man, I was gonna do it no matter what, but I was kind of like, I'm not really sure what people are gonna think and this and that. So I ran the idea by you, and you're like, nah, just go for it, go for it. So I appreciate that encouragement. It just gave me that extra bit of confidence. And then, last week the Nate Diaz video did the best of any of my videos, and this week, Rush and Rhonda shared our video. So I appreciate the encouragement, man.
yeah, no, it's an amazing idea, and I love the fact that you're like doing it once a week into like a shortish time frame because people just have such short attention spans, and especially people who aren't into grappling. Like if you're a black belt and you go to jujitsu every day, like you probably know some of that. But if you're just like the average person, or even like a fight fan, someone who maybe knows a little bit about mixed martial arts, you don't know how that stuff works. Like I wrestled for 16 years and like I've done jujitsu before, but like I don't know the it's the tiny little techniques that are the difference between it working and not working. So I enjoy watching it. I learn a lot from it, and I think it's great when you do it to something relevant that just happened. Like you just had the Russian Ron, the knee bar, you had the Nate Diaz video. So I think just people are really catching on to it because people want to know more about how this stuff really works, especially if you're an MMA fan. MMA is growing at a rapid rate. Like these grapplers have done so well in the sport. So I think it's a great idea and people are definitely going to get something out of it.
Absolutely. And this morning I got my first DM like, man, like you inspired me to try out jujitsu today. I'm going to first class. So, just little things like that make it worthwhile. So I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody. But as far as, this weekend, underdog picks and all that. So I know you a while, right? We've met in person, all this. And I know that you have your money trains. There's a dude named Taporia that you've literally bet on every single UFC fight. And it's easy to talk about how, well, I'm just going to bet this guy by default because I bet him every single time. Well, what if the guy's minus 500? What if the guy's minus 750? What if there's no value, right? But Taporia has historically been undervalued. I mean, he was only like minus 150 versus Bryce. I got him like plus 160 versus Yusuf Zalal. Could you imagine if they ever ran it back and you got plus 160 on Taporia versus Yusuf Zalal? So, Andrew's been coming out here betting on Taporia every single fight, and I assume you're going to continue to do that as long as there's value in his lines. So there's ironically two of my biggest money trains of the last 5 years are on this card, and they're both underdogs. Again, two fighters that are always just criminally underrated. The first one's Yan Xiaonan. So I've actually sent you my numbers on both these fighters. So, and I have it written down. So Yan Xiaonan is someone that I've literally bet every single fight she's had in the octagon, meaning like her UFC debut against Kylan Curran. She was minus 130 against Kylan Curran. And it's funny, Andrew, because we always talk about like Tyler Santos against Mara Romero Barella, how she was like minus 150 in that spot, and how like if they ever ran it back, you'd take that minus 150 all day. It's funny because you actually cashed on Barella, but I know for a fact if they ever ran it back, you would take Tyler, especially at a number like that, right? So I was like out here max betting Yan Xiaonan at minus 130 against Kylan Curran, who ended up being like 1-7 in the UFC, right? So right off the bat, I was like, wow, like this chick is someone to look out for. So I bet her every single UFC fight, and that's 7-2 for plus 13 units for a 37% ROI. So right off the bat, you hang a plus 160 in front of me against anybody in the weight class. And I know someone's gonna be like, well, what about Tatiana? Tatiana's up at flyweights. Don't even mention her name. But I mean, literally, you hang that plus 160 on Yan Xiaonan against anybody, and it's just like a no-brainer. It's just like a system play, and I just have to be on it. So that's my first play. Yan Xiaonan plus 160. I put 3 units on it. And then my next play, this is going to be a contentious one because I know that you don't endorse this play. But basically, my money management is on point with both these underdogs, 3 units on each. So if one wins, you know, it's a profitable evening. If both win, it's red panty night. If both lose, that'll really suck. But I'm aiming towards one winning or both winning. So the next one, and this is interesting because you know, I obviously value your opinion, and you know, you're a guy who you like to find value. You like to find, you know, these people that are consistently undervalued, that are going out there and overperforming. And I think this guy fits that bill, and that's actually Bilal Muhammad. And I know that you've bet against him many, many times, but tell me how profitable that's been. You know what I'm saying?
Not very.
So I've literally shown you my history betting Bilal Muhammad, and you've like seen the screenshots and the numbers. It's pretty crazy. So I bet him like his last 11 fights, not including Leon. For some reason, I didn't bet that fight. It was a no contest, so it's like the fight never even happened. So I'm 10-1 his last 11 fights for a plus 15.99 units, like close to 16 units, and a 61% ROI. So
Incredible.
there's nothing boring about a 60% ROI. You know what I'm saying, man? So when you hang a plus 125 on him against anybody in the weight class, it's like the same thing. I just kind of have to take it. And I know there's injury rumors and this and that. You know, hopefully that's just a Photoshop, because I have seen other pictures where, you know, there's the thing floating around about his ankle. I've seen other pictures where he looks completely fine. So hopefully that's not a factor. We'll see, you know, and obviously you got to give respect to both opponents, to Burns, to Andrade. They're incredible. They've been around the game a long time. They're favorites for a reason, but I think that our two underdogs are going to fight for your money, and they're going to go out there, and I think they're going to surpass, you know, these salaries, assuming they don't get finished early. So yeah, for that reason, I like both these guys, Bilal and Xiaonan, 3 units each.
Yeah, that's great. And it's mind-boggling to think of like these early prices on these types of fighters. Like I remember Bilal was closely lined with like Curtis Millen there, and just took him down, took him down, took him down. And it's crazy to think that like how far they've come. Like Yan Xiaonan being priced minus 130 against someone who most people watching this have probably never even heard of, because she hasn't been in the UFC in years. And it's a really special talent to be able to recognize that early on. Like anyone could go now. Okay, oh yeah, Bilal, he's pretty good, or Yan Xiaonan, she's pretty good. You've been doing it since like day one. Like you recognize, you beat the market on it. You were early to the party, and you've profited a lot since. So I think your opinion on these fights, people definitely should take them very seriously. On my end, I'm going to cover a little Cage Warriors today. Obviously, we have the big UFC 288 card tonight. But beforehand, a little MMA for the people who are looking to make it an all-day affair. I'm gonna try. It's a Rome card. I'm gonna try hard to pronounce these names correctly. I like Eduardo Cayaza over Marco Saris-Jarvi at around a pick 'em or better. This is an early fight on the card. Both guys don't have much experience, but from what I saw on tape, Cayaza is the better striker. He has real knockout power. Was taken down a couple times in his early fights, but I think his get-ups are actually pretty decent. And Saris-Jarvi, on the other hand, has decent jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling and striking seem pretty subpar to me. So I think that Kayaza is going to be lighting him up on the feet. I think if he does get taken down, he's going to get back up. But I tend to think he's not going to get taken down more than once or twice, because I don't think Saris-Jarvi is much of a wrestler. And also from a physicality standpoint, it looks like he's like maturing very quickly. Like he's looking jacked. His last fight compared to his early fights, like he looks like he's made significant improvements. He goes to the body, which people that early on in their careers don't a lot of times don't really know how to do yet. But you'll see him; he'll get someone up against the cage and start ripping shots to the body. I love what he's doing with his striking as a very. And again, both these guys are very green, very young, but I think some of these spots are very profitable long term when you kind of take a look into you take a deep dive into a fight where most people aren't really looking at. So that's what I'm doing here. I like Kayaza at pick 'em or better. even up to like minus 125. I like it. I think I have to make him at least 60% here. So I'll endorse it up to minus 125. But yeah, Dan likes I was gonna say Dan likes Burns. Dan likes Bilal, and Dan likes Yan Xiaonan tonight. I like Kayaz. So those are our 3 picks for the day. Dan, thanks again for coming on. I'm sure most people watching this follow you, but just in case, can you let them know your Twitter and your YouTube channel?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks for having me, and then thanks to your audience as well. Keep up the good work, man. Everybody can follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks, and then my show Half the Battle is available everywhere podcasts are found. But if you're interested in just the technique of the week, check out on my YouTube Half the Battle. So thanks again, man, and best of luck tonight.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Let's have ourselves a day, and we'll be back next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. See you guys tonight. Peace.